Season 1 ends on a good note, where Ian finally recognizes Poppy and makes her co-creative director. What can go wrong?
Poppy is a monster, and I refuse to work with her!
The season 2 finale was open-ended, but still felt conclusive. Brad takes the fall and goes to jail to cover for Joe. Joe, meanwhile, comes crawling back to David, begging to be his assistant again. Rachel gets into Berkeley to become a writer, while Dana stays behind to enroll in a coding school funded by Mythic Quest. And finally, Ian and Poppy take a literal and emotional walk down memory lane with CW, retracing every idea they came up with to remind themselves where they came from. It's CW who suggests in his own poetic way that this might actually be the end of the road for them. He delivers one of his best speeches, impassioned, articulate, and just the right amount of dramatic. He asks Ian why is it that his creative well has run dry and that all their effort on the next expansion has led to nothing. He states stories only have one logical, inevitable end. CW makes Ian and Poppy realize there are no new chapters to write. As CW puts it, their child, Mythic Quest, is all grown up. And in true CW fashion, after dropping all that profound, soul-crushing insight, he wraps it up with a flourish only he could deliver.
She's legal now.
All right, that's enough.
Close.
Come on.
Ian and Poppy tell a poor, stressed out David they're leaving, and the final scene ends with them at Casa Vega, where Ian says they'll work on Poppy's game, Hera. Ian hands Poppy a napkin and pen and gets started. Freaking chef's kiss. If the show had ended here, I honestly would have been satisfied. CW's speech felt like a farewell to the journey these characters had been on. It gave the sense that everyone was ready to move on to their next adventure.
There was a time when a moment like this would call for a hug.
We don't gotta hug.
Yeah, no, it's inappropriate now. It's not appropriate.
And then season 3 comes in and wrecks everything. By the end of the season, Ian and Poppy decide to come back to Mythic Quest, and it left me wondering, what was the point of it all? Instead of building something new, everything fell apart and diluted the emotional weight of season 2's finale. While characters strive for growth, they often find themselves repeating past patterns, and that's exactly what happened to Ian and Poppy during the entire season. However, I do appreciate the theme of Mythic Quest season 3, which seemed to revolve around reinvention and the challenges of starting over. Ian and Poppy's new game fails and they run out of money, so they go back to Mythic Quest to work on Playpen. Rachel drops out of school and instead somehow becomes head of monetization. Dana ends up leaving Ian and Poppy to do her own thing. Brad went to jail, became a janitor, and gets bored and decides to help Dana with her dream of starting her own company. I feel like they didn't really know what to do with Brad. And Joe is still Joe. She goes to whoever has power. I haven't decided if I hate her or like her yet. David is a bit better, but still pretty spineless. Also, my favorite character, CW, died off screen because the guy who played him was a method actor. I guess really I'm just disappointed because the season 2 ending was hopeful and season 3 wrecked all that. I ended up enjoying season 4 more than season 3. It felt less about ego and more about personal growth and trying to find some kind of work-life balance in an industry that doesn't exactly make that easy. The season 4 finale doesn't really feel like a big deal though, and it didn't leave much of an impact on me compared to season 2's ending. David's so-called A-team had their little moment meeting with Montreal's assistant, which led to Joe being promoted to head of Playpen, a move that she considers as a downgrade for her, seeing that her life goal seems to be an assistant to the most powerful. Okay, I think I hate Joe. However, the more meaningful moment came from Ian. For once, he put Poppy's needs ahead of his own and encouraged her to go to the Netherlands to be with Storm, a character who, let's be honest, mostly exists to explain Poppy's pregnancy. But in a full circle moment, Poppy ends up coming back after finding out Ian returned to work at Mythic Quest and tells him that if there's a glimmer of hope that you can make it work with someone you truly love, you have to grab it with both hands. They share a hug and then just get back to work. It's a quiet little ending, nothing flashy, but kind of sweet in its own way. Originally, the ending had Ian and Poppy kiss, which completely caught me off guard. I always thought their relationship was purely platonic, almost sibling-like. So when that happened, it felt out of left field. Then I found out the show was canceled and I thought, no way, this can't be how it ends. Thankfully, they released a new edited version that cuts the kiss entirely, which makes sense with the show being canceled. Still, it's clear the show had more story left to tell, and it's a real shame we won't get to see where it could have all gone. At the end of the day, Mythic Quest was always a show about potential. The potential to create, to lead, to grow, and to screw it all up along the way. And maybe that's what made it so compelling in its early seasons. It was messy in a way that felt real. But by season 4, that spark started to dim. The characters weren't evolving so much as circling the same emotional beats. And the story felt like it was stretching just to keep going. I don't think the show ended terribly, it just didn't end well. And maybe that's the real tragedy. Not that it ended, but it didn't get the opportunity to tell the ending it deserved. That's why looking back at all the seasons, it really should have ended with season 2. It left me with the glimmer of hope. Open, but still conclusive. If I had to give a rating for the end of season 2, it would be this.
4 beeholes. 4 beeholes! 4 beeholes!
Anyways, do you think Mythic Quest should have ended at season 2 as well? Let's talk about it in the comments. Oh, and if you want to see how a show cured my cynicism, click on this video right here, and I'll see you in that video.